Hi, everybody. It is December of 2024, and Chuck and I have made a lot of progress on our property, which we bought shortly before starting on our Alaska van adventure. Since it's been a really long time since we made a video, I thought I would just start by kind of recapping some of the preparations that we did. And then this video will also probably go through Glacier National Park, start the next video as we head into Canada. It is a really long way to Alaska. As I mentioned on Facebook, we had, I think, close to 9,000 video clips plus drone footage. It's been a lot to take in, and because we have the new property, we are late working on our Alaska videos. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this one. It won't be as exciting as the ones to come, but at least it'll kind of catch you up on where we are and how we got here. All right, bye. When we picked up our empty cargo van in October of 2021, we knew that driving to Alaska was definitely on our bucket list. It took us a little over 5 months to build out the van, which you can watch in our van build series. After a shakedown maiden voyage to Louisiana, followed by a van trip up the East Coast to Maine in 2022, we started planning our Alaska van adventure for the summer of 2024. We did this by watching various YouTube videos on Alaska, looking at books, and also using the Road Trippers app in order to plan our route. If you've never used the Road Trippers app, this is what it looks like. It's a way of planning your route, and I like it because you can add notes. So here in Alaska, as we watch YouTube videos, we will add the stops on, and then I have my notes down here. So like Friar Tuck's, which turned out to be awesome. Here you see my notes. We saw where Wings and Wheels, and they live in Alaska. Went there to eat with a bunch of van people. And so I like it because as we run across items, I can add in the different stops. And then I have my notes so I know why I added it in and where I found the information at. So after you have a lot of time to kind of collect all your thoughts, you start to forget things. But this is a really great way to remember everything. And then it's also useful because you'll see here it starts to kind of tell you like how far from the Arctic Interagency Visitor Center it is to the Atacama Pass. It's 72 miles. That may not be the best example because that's a really rough road, but it gives you an idea of planning out how far you can kind of drive every day. Chuck and I only like to do about 300 to 400 miles because we like to spend a lot of time stopping and looking around. In our epic Great Southwest van trip in the summer of 2023, we gained confidence in our 4x4 off-roading and boondocking abilities, and we also learned some valuable lessons that were going to come in handy. So in January of 2024, Chuck made some upgrades to the van from the lessons learned to prepare us for Alaska. First, we bought new tires and valve stem extenders for our dually tires to make it easier to air up and air down. That had been a complete pain out west, and the new extenders worked wonderfully and they were a huge game changer. Number 2, our cheap Chinese diesel heater couldn't handle the high altitudes out west. So Chuck replaced it with the more expensive S-bar heater, and that worked great. Third, we had a second alternator failure on our trip out west, so we had the alternator rebuilt and bought a new spare in Albuquerque. We used the rebuilt alternator to finish that trip out, so in January 2024, Chuck replaced the repaired alternator with the new alternator, so we would still be under warranty during our Alaska van adventure. I had a tentative outline of our Alaska trip and booked campsite at a few of the major national parks as soon as they were online to book for 2024, as they sell out very quickly. Our official start date would be the beginning of June, and our friends were going to meet us in Alaska in their Sprinter van for part of the trip. One of the main reasons we had bought the van was so it would be easier to travel with our dog Hefe. Unfortunately, he passed away before our van build was finished. We knew before our Alaska trip that we really wanted another dog. So, at the end of 2023, we adopted a new rescue dog named Tio. Tio was going to be a huge challenge to get ready for Alaska because he had severe anxiety issues. In fact, we had to send him away to boarding school for professional help for about a month. But he came back much better than he was before, but he still had a long way to go. Early in February, we took Tio to a big van gathering, which happens in Florida every year. and it was going to be his first major test of van life. Unfortunately, it rained a ton, and so Tio basically hid out in the van most of the time. But he did become very comfortable with the van, almost like it was a safe space for him, like a big crate. By March, Tio was not progressing as well as we had hoped at the house. He was totally overwhelmed with the construction and the city noises in our downtown St. Pete neighborhood. We had also become more sensitive to the noise, and we were ready for a quieter life. So Chuck expanded our search zone and found a potential place in the Florida Panhandle. So we quickly made an appointment to see it. We saw a lot of potential in the new property. 5 acres for Tio to run. It was very quiet, had a house, had a she shed for me, and it had a huge area where we could build a garage for the van, which was on our bucket list because now that we had been in van life and we knew we really wanted to keep the van, we wanted to have a garage to be able to keep it. And it was so quiet in the country that Tio could relax more. So he did much better on this van trip to see the new property than he had done on the trip earlier in February. But did we really want to put ourselves under pressure to move before going on our Alaska trip? We would have less than 3 months to buy, sell, move, and prep for the trip. We didn't want to postpone the trip because after 2 years of planning, booking some of these parks already and stops along the way, and our friends already making plans to meet us in Alaska, we just didn't feel postponing was the right thing to do. So not only was there potential in the property, but it was in a small little town. It had a nice little brewery and a little country church for me. We decided it was best for our future in the long run. So we turned our life upside down and made an offer on the new place. It would be hard and we would be going backwards for a while with lots of work projects for years to come, but we took the leap. We closed on the new property at the beginning of April, went back to St. Pete, packed up our current house, put it on the market, hired movers for the first time ever, which was incredibly convenient. Moved the beginning of May, went back to St. Pete after unpacking a little bit here, closed on our house in St. Petersburg, prepped our boat for hurricane season at the marina, and drove back to have about a week to prep the van in order to leave for Alaska at the start of June. It was bittersweet to leave the new house. We had so much work that needed to be done, but Alaska was calling us. Our van friends had left earlier and were already on their way. We had accomplished all of our goals in the last 3 months, and we were looking forward to slowing down to relax a bit. The spreadsheet's important because the Road Trippers app, when you're out on the road, requires internet, cell service in order to work. And sometimes it's just a lot quicker if you have this piece of paper in front of you, especially at nighttime when you're planning. So what I do is I put in our stops, the location, how far the mileage is, and then this also helps me to plan out the day of the week on where we're going to be and what those dates might be. If there's operational hours that are different that we need to know about so that when things change, then it helps me to keep track if maybe that place isn't open on the day we're going to be there again. In my notes, I copy from the Road Trippers app some of my notes there. Here I will do BW for Boondockers Welcome on our first day. Here you'll see Harvest Host, which is what the HH is for. And here I put like how much money we spend, I keep track of as we travel, and then key dates. So if I needed to book something, like especially national parks as soon as they open, then I try to put those key dates in there so that I can be sure to follow up on those. Once I've booked something, I also put where we're going to stay. Here you'll see that we started to book some places and then people ended up selling what their places, so we weren't able to go, or things got canceled and things got moved around. The first night on this trip, you'll see we were in Warrior, Alabama. That was not a whole lot happening there. It was basically a travel day. The second day on the trip, we're in Hot Springs National Park, and that is where we will pick up to start the videos from this trip. It's Tuesday, June the 4th. We spent yesterday just driving, and so today we're excited because we're going to our first stop, which is Hot Springs National Park. This is the visitor center for the park, which is located in the city. It's like a 3-story museum. And here's the springs. You can see them, they're steaming. Pretty cool. Let's check in Tio. Tio's on his first hike ever.
Yeah.
We're just leaving the tower here because it was $14 to hike and up it, and Tio couldn't go. After our short hike, we returned to our van in order to drive through the park. It was really a beautiful drive. Most people at this park go to the bathhouses, which is where you can sit in the hot springs. We did not do that because we had Tio and we still weren't comfortable leaving him alone in the van yet. We left the park and we drove to our Harvest Host destination for the night. It was called the Hot Springs Off-Road Park. We knew it was going to be a bit of a challenge for Tio because he's sensitive to noise, but it was late in the day and we figured at night it would be much quieter. They have places you can actually rent to stay, but because we were Harvest Hosts, we were able to just buy a few items in the gift shop. They have over 1,200 acres of off-road trails. They had a nice shelter for the Harvest Host destination, and it turned out to be a pretty quiet night and a great place to stay. It's a place we would like to go back to someday. Today we're making a quick stop at Stoys for some famous Arkansas food. You'll see like the old train station back there with the train, and they're like in a train, which is kind of cool. They're famous for possum pie in Arkansas, and cheese dip is another Arkansas food. So we had to stop here on the way. After Stoby's, we headed through the Ozark Mountains, and we had no idea that although they're beautiful, they're some of the curviest and crookedest roads I've ever been on in my entire life. We made a few quick stops to return to some of our favorite food places, Made Right for a loose meat sandwich and a slice of pie. Neither of those turned out to be as good as we remembered before. This is a Harvest Host that we're staying at for tonight. And we've already done the wine tasting. I had 2 tastings with 12 different wines that I tried. And this is the inside. This is one of the most award-winning wineries in Missouri. And the wines are fabulous. I mean, absolutely fabulous. We bought 3 bottles of wine next door, put them in the van. Grabbed Tio, who's sitting next to me. Look at the camera. Yeah, we grabbed Tio. Now we're sitting out at the Public House Brewing Company, which is next door to the winery, and it's like a sister company. They said that they have their main location in Rolla, which we used to call Rolla, but that's not the proper way to say it. And they have, the restaurant is owned by the winery, and the brewery is just a sister company. So they sell their wines here, so I'm drinking the wine. And it's a huge outdoor area. It's all dog friendly, even inside the beer company and also inside of the winery. And it's just really loud in there for Tio. He was a little scared. It's cold in there. So we came out here. Yeah, it was cold in there too. And the temperature out here is perfect. It's got to be like, what, mid-70s?
It's 82.
Tex at 82. But it feels very comfortable. No humidity like we're used to in St. Pete. Although I think we're already going soft and soft choppy. I can already tell the humidity's a lot less there. But this is great. How's your beer?
It's okay.
Okay.
The other one was good.
But that was their beer too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he had the hazy IPA at the winery. And what do you have now?
It's the regular.
Regular IPA is just okay. We made it to the Gateway Arch National Park. Chuck just went down into the visitor center. I've been here before, but he's never been here. And Tio's first time coming here. Well, here's Tio. He won't look at the camera, but he's not sure what to think, but he likes being able to be out and walking. Still got his tail tucked some. After a quick photo op, we hit the road again. We're on the Frenchman's Bluff Trail at a Missouri State Park, which some people said was one of their top 5 parks. And people are really nice. Tio's on his second hike of this trip, and he's doing really good. Eventually, we arrived at our Boondockers Welcome Spot. It was a wonderful place outside of Kansas City, Missouri, and the hosts were super, super nice. And Tio was able to relax and enjoy his camping chair for the first time. This is the start of day 5. We had a great night at a Boondocker Welcome house. A really nice lady and her son. We're at the Remington Nature Center of St. Joseph, Missouri. And we went inside. It was like $4 a person. Saw some of the exhibits, which were cool. And now we're on the river. We're gonna do a little hike with Tio. Ooh, look at the purple flowers. Those are very cool. Good boy.
Yes, my boy.
Yeah, there's like big fish here. Chuck thinks maybe they're catfish.
There's a little pike or something. A little gar.
Oh yeah, that one looks different. Alright, so we came to a different part of the park to have lunch at this little picnic area. They had some mountain biking trails and hiking trails. We walked a little bit, but not too far. It's in the sun and it's really hot. It's a pretty cool little town. I think there's a lot to offer here. The nature center was really nice.
It's hot.
But it is hot. So, we've become soft already. But last night was wonderful. We continued our drive toward Nebraska for the night. We didn't have any firm plans on where to stay, and our ideas all fell through. The Harvest Host, the iOverlander, there was a huge tornado warning, so we just hit the closest city park near St. Paul that we could find. Started out better than we thought, but as he got bored, he was getting more and more energy built up. So at 1 a.m., he was up. At 3 a.m., he was up. And then Chuck said, if we're up, we're just going to drive. As we made the drive toward Alliance, Nebraska, exhausted, we knew we had to do some problem solving. One of the ideas we came up with was to search along our route for dog parks. Although we aren't big dog park people, we realized that Tio needed an outlet for his energy. So we were going to have to make a conscious effort to give Tio daily time at a dog park to try to make him tired. Since the vet was closed on Saturday, we went to a pharmacist who recommended drowsy Dramamine. We were hopeful this combination would work because Chuck wasn't going for my third idea, which was to board Tio while we were in Alaska. After tiring Tio out at the dog park, we headed for a Runza sandwich, which is a Nebraskan regional specialty, and it was really good. Next, we made the short drive over to Hinge. Here we are at Hinge, Alliance, Nebraska. Hinge was built in 1987 as a memorial to the artist's father. It consists of 39 automobiles which are placed to assume the same proportions as England's Stonehenge, with the circle measuring approximately 96 feet in diameter. We love seeing unique roadside attractions like Hinge, but we were exhausted, especially because Chuck hadn't slept in a few nights. I had only had trouble the prior night. Thankfully, our Boondockers Welcome hosts were located on a rural farm close by, and they said we could come over early to recuperate from our lack of sleep. We woke up the next morning and made our way toward Wind Cave National Park. We just made it to the Wind Cave National Park Visitor Center. The road in, there were tons of buffaloes and some prairie dogs. That was pretty cool. Unfortunately, the Wind Cave was closed until the fall because they were renovating the elevator systems. We knew that, but we still wanted to come and watch the park movie, do a short hike with Tio, have a picnic lunch, and then hit the road again. The drive through Wyoming and South Dakota was beautiful. We saw a ton of pronghorns in Wyoming. In fact, one almost ran into us. In South Dakota, I just loved watching the wind blow across the prairie grass. It was just so pretty. We made it to our boondocking spot outside of Casper, Wyoming on BLM land. This is the view from our boondocking spot last night. As you can see, we had the whole place to ourselves. Tio's not feeling well today because he found a pronghorn leg laying around yesterday and was chewing on it before we could get to him to stop him. These areas are nice, but people aren't picking up after their dogs. So this is a super nice rest area in Wyoming. This has been on Chuck's list for a long time, Melvin Brewing. They have tons of IPA choices, and it's right here on, I think, the Snake River, because that's what we followed all the way in, and it was beautiful. Unfortunately, the sun was glaring on the windshield and I couldn't get any video. That was the first one.
Yeah.
Ooh, we're getting our pretzel.
What's What's with that slide?
Oh, it's cute. Awesome.
Oh, it's so
Chuck said his drinks at Melvin Brewing were really good. Our food was good, and my little dessert ice cream huckleberry sandwich was excellent. We're back at the van now. We have this awesome spot here. It's on BLM land right in front of the brewery. We spent the day driving to Sealy Lake to a boondocking spot, which would turn out to be the most mosquito-infested place of our entire trip. It was so bad we had to move to another spot for the night. It is Wednesday morning and we're heading to Glacier National Park. Tio slept until 5:20. Chuck took him out to pee, and then he came back in and we slept until 6:40 probably. So that's not bad. It's 44 degrees out here, so it's a little chilly, but you'll see it's very woodsy. We're the only people at this camp spot. There was actually a deer out here yesterday running around when I went to take Tio out last night, probably about 8 o'clock or so. There's some birds. We read there had been bear here, but we haven't seen any bears. So, we are excited for Glacier National Park today. Heard a lot of great things about it, and so hopefully it's as good as we've heard. The road's still closed going all the way through, but we're going to be at a campground the next 6 days. 2 at Glacier, 2 at Waterton in Canada, and 2 at Banff. So little Tio, I'm trying to let him run as much as he can and be free, because he'll have to be on the leash there. Good boy! Okay, Tio. 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 Go, Tio, go. Go. Don't go that way. There's a bone over there. He found that pronghorn bone the other day and chewed on it. And Chuck, he's already found another bone here. Tio, He's already found another bone here in this field, but good boy. He also found some prairie dog holes he was trying to get into, so he can get into trouble pretty easy. But he's sweet. I hope we can stop him from getting sick. He started to refuse to take the pill, so we had it in pill pockets, so now he won't eat pill pockets. So we'll see how it goes. We wrapped it up in sandwich meat today, and then he ate it. The Bonsai Brewing Company. We stopped and got a pizza on the way and went to the grocery store, and the pizza place wasn't dog friendly, so this is on Fido.com and it's dog friendly. So Tio's finally relaxed. It was super noisy in the parking lot earlier with bicyclists. Alright, so we made it to the Apgar Visitor Center. It's kind of nice. It's not super crowded, and they have 3 people out here giving information, so we're in line. We made it to our campsite here at Apgar, and it's very woody, so the Starlink's not working great, but I think it works a little bit. Sometimes Chuck gets really fast speeds, but anyway, we have just barely a little bit of internet on regular cell service too. So we're making the best of it. Tio hasn't figured out the leash still, but he did not get sick today. We only drove 146 miles, so it wasn't very far, and we made a whole bunch of stops, most of which he stayed in the car, but we did take him to a brewery for lunch, and he was able to get out of the car there. Tomorrow we're going to drive around here. Today we're just going to hike around here. Down to the lake from the campground, which is a really short walk with Tio, and you can see how beautiful the lake is. And the snow-capped mountains to the right. Oops, allergies are acting up. Tio, you look pretty on the log. This is the amphitheater on the lake, and this is where they do some of the ranger talks, but they don't really start the program until next week. That's when the season really opens. I guess we're a week early, which I didn't exactly realize. But they have a few talks today, but we've already missed those, so Tomorrow we'll be out on the main road doing the drive and hiking and picnicking, so we're going to miss the ranger talk. But I heard they're really cool. When it's in season, I think they do some at night, which would be nice to come out here at night because it's really close to the campsite. It's actually pretty nice, and it's very quiet. Like, we're used to campgrounds having a lot of screaming kids, but it's actually very, very quiet. And there's Mr. Tio. He wants in the van. He's been stuck outside for a while, and he keeps wrapping himself around the starling. But you're a pretty boy, aren't you? Unfortunately, we didn't make it as far as I wanted to in this episode because the video is getting rather long. So in the next video, we will finish exploring Glacier National Park and make our way into Canada. Waterton Lakes in Canada will turn out to be one of my favorite parks of the entire trip. We'll also visit Lake Louise in Banff, and we'll have one of the most magical days of our entire trip.